Am I still here? What's going on? What's happening, everybody? Just making sure everything is good to go here. Thank you for tuning in to the NBA report on the NBK network. Appreciate y'all. John, how you feeling, brother?
I'm doing well, man. What's going on, Ron?
Hey, man, I can't complain, bro. I can't complain. Just another tough week for us as Knicks fans. Every time there's a little pot of gold at the end of the tunnel, that damn leprechaun is there. So, it is what it is. Thank you guys once again for tuning in. I'm going to do this early this time around. We'll get to it later as well. But if you're not familiar with myself and my co-host, John, my name is Ron. We're from the Still Knicks Fans podcast. Definitely look us up on YouTube. Go like, comment, and subscribe. All that good stuff to some of the content we got out there. But thank you for tuning in. We appreciate having you all in these trying times as Knicks fans. But as I said, this is the NBA report. So we want to, give you a little breakdown of what's going on around the Eastern Conference. May touch on a couple of Western Conference teams just to give you the skinny. But
that's what we do.
It's time for the rundown, guys. And let me tell you, it changed a little bit this time around. I feel like every week the Knicks are in the same position, but unfortunately, that's not the case. So the Brooklyn Nets are still at the top of the Eastern Conference at 17-8. They're still playing great basketball. The Detroit Pistons in the flip-flop race for the cellar dwellers has now taken control of the basement in the Eastern Conference. They're at 4-20 and are on a 10-game losing streak. So they're doing their thing, they're doing what a rebuilding team would do at this point. So it is what it is. But in unfortunate news, coming off a blowout loss versus the Indiana Pacers last night, the New York Knicks, who have been steady in the 7th spot for most of the year in the Eastern Conference, are now dropped to the 11th position with a 12-13 record. Oh, man.
Oh, boy.
Oh, man. Boy, I wish I had some red Reeboks or something on so I could just clap them together and get out of this freaking wonderland, man. I don't know where I'm at right now.
I'm telling you, the Twitter universe was like going crazy, especially Nick universe on Twitter was like nonstop today.
It's you know what I mean? Like
there's some heated conversations happening.
It's rough out here.
And let me tell you. And a lot of it is surrounding this young man right here that I have on this t-shirt.
Oh, yeah. RJ has a lot to do with a lot of things, man. Yeah, definitely. Whew. Man.
Yes, he does.
Anyway, hope you guys are doing good out there. But there's some stuff going on with this New York Knicks team. We're going to get to it. But first, let's touch on the Miami Heat, who are in the Southeast Division, and they're still atop the Southeast Division right now because it's been a flip-flop between them and Washington. But even though Miami and Washington are tied with 15-11 records, Miami has edged them because of the head-to-head. And it's pretty much status quo for them. They're still playing good basketball behind Jimmy Butler and Tyler Hero. Unfortunately, they're still without Bam. Adebayo, yeah, he's still out with that injury, which is tough for them. But the good thing for them is that, they're playing good basketball, John.
Right.
Regardless of what adversity they're dealing with, they got a good team over there with a good system.
Yep. It proves to like what we were saying before is that you build a good chemistry and you build around a good system, good front office, solidified coaching staff, and you can get a lot done. Even when you're down a superstar. So
Right.
kudos to Miami, man. They're still playing really, really well. A defensive-minded team, and they share the ball, and they play a really good offense. Very steady.
Yeah. A solid bunch over there, man. You gotta respect Miami. Always respect them.
Yep.
And then that brings us to the Washington Wizards, who, like I said, are tied with Miami at 15 and 11. They're still led by Bradley Beal. He's still doing what he does. Montrezl Harrell and Kyle Kuzma are the top three scorers for them, respectively. Kyle Kuzma is averaging 13 points per game. He kind of overtook Spencer Dinwiddie, who was in that spot prior to him. So now he has stepped up his scoring average. So now he's the third best scorer on the team. And Washington is still kind of like, I guess, just chugging along, man. Like they had their little spell where their offense wasn't, clicking too well. And then they were questioning the leadership of Dinwiddie and all this. But it looks like they figured it out, man. They're back to their winning ways.
That's a team that I thought would start to spiral a little bit south, but kudos to them and to their play and to the coach and the coaching staff, keeping them together, not paying too much mind to what the media has to say about them. And listen, they're surprising a lot of folks because no one really had them in the mix this year, at least to start the season. They expected them to sort of be a lower tier team. And not expected to be in the race, but they're in the race and they're playing solidly. They're playing good basketball. They're going to lose some games here and there, but for the most part, they have a nice combination of players who are playing well. And it starts with Bradley Beal and Dinwiddie. To be honest, I still don't. I mean, I know you said that what's the young man's name? He had stepped up and is now scoring.
Kyle Kuzma.
More. Kyle Kuzma. I still think that it's Dinwiddie and Bradley Beal. They'll get as far as they can take them. I think Kyle Kuzma is a good piece to have. However, I don't see him much more than what he is right now, which is like a 13-point scorer. Could put in some buckets here and there. But
right.
His game doesn't really impress me that much. I mean, I think he's a good, solid player, but I don't know.
Yeah. I think he. I don't know if you could say he's a better version of him, but maybe he is. But they seem very similar in their game. Like I think like him and Kelly Oubre. I think he's a little better version of a Kelly Oubre. I don't know because Kelly Oubre is very up and down. I don't know.
Yeah, it depends on which game you're watching.
Right.
You said, Oubre could be a guy who you would be like, wow, I'm surprised he landed there, and he could be such a great asset for so many teams because of his athleticism. But again, he doesn't always bring it. He doesn't bring the intensity sometimes, and sometimes he isn't. His game is sort of like my man RJ Barrett, very inconsistent. So let's see. But Kyle Kuzma almost seems the same way. Like he may be playing a little better this year. He may have better stats this year, possibly when you put them side by side. But I don't necessarily see that much. I don't see him as a perennial all-star. I think, or an all-star, first-time all-star. I don't see him getting to that level yet. I think he needs some seasoning first.
Yeah, no, that makes sense to me. I can get behind that. That's fair. I'm with you on that.
Yeah, I know you're a fan. I know you kind of dig his game.
I mean, I liked him when he first came into the league, and what he did in the summer league kind of enamored me to him. But it is what it is. Yeah, and then that brings us to the Atlanta Hawks, who Atlanta is funky team because they have their own set of struggles. They started off okay, I guess, and then they went like totally like not flatline, but it was pretty bad. And then they got super hot. So now they've kind of rounded into shape at 13 and 12. But it's kind of like you can still see that they're not quite right for whatever reason. I don't know exactly what's going on with them. They're still getting great efforts from their top players and Rayford Trae Young and John Collins and Bogdan Bogdanovic. And Trey's he's pumping up his scoring. He's averaging 26 points per game now, so he's definitely doing his thing. Even though he's a thorn in a lot of our sides, the guy's a good player. So it is what it is.
Yeah, that team is it's going to be around all year. I mean, they're a team of runs. They're sort of team that could get hot at any moment, and then because they shoot the three ball a lot, and their offense and defense is predicated on how well Trae Young is playing, and so they'll be up and down all season. But I think for the most part they'll come out sort of with a winning record at the end of the year, and it all depends on how strong the East finishes up. If there's some teams who we expect to be there, if they do out and don't win games against the West, then you'll start to see a less formidable Eastern Conference. But I think right now, I think we're sort of even. So
yeah. I mean, the only thing with the team is even though Bogdanovic is still their third best scorer on the team, he's been hurt recently with a right ankle sprain, and so dealing with the fact that DeAndre Hunter is out. Then you got the Cam Reddish has a left wrist sprain. He's been out. And now they just found out. Right. No, definitely. But those guys are going to come back. They did find out some bad news now. I don't know if you would say it's big to affect their team, too much, but they did lose Solomon Hill, and he's going to be done for the rest of the season. So he's one of those guys. We saw him play when they played us. Like they used him quite a bit in that Knicks game. So yeah, so that might be a blow
to go up against a lot of the bruising type forwards. They use them a lot. But yeah,
right.
It's not gonna help their depth. That's for sure. It's gonna hurt their depth in the bench. But they're a talented group, a very athletic group. They don't have much size, outside of Capella, who isn't like a big center. But I think they'll be all right, man. They shoot the ball well enough to win a lot of games this year.
I think very streaky. Right about that.
They're very streaky.
Yeah, I agree. They definitely are a streaky team, but when they get hot, they get hot. They kind of. I mean, I used to feel like that about the Knicks. Haven't seen it this year though yet. Not yet.
Not yet.
And salute to the chat. Thank you guys for tuning in as always.
Absolutely.
I see you guys blowing up the chat. Appreciate you. Thank you, Queen's Court, David L. Dripmore, Funky Goose World. Love that name, man. Funky Goose World.
I love what he had to say about Kyle Kuzma. He said Walmart version of Antoine Walker. That's hilarious.
Ooh, wow. Okay. Warren Franklin, appreciate you. Hewlett, Samuel, aka Wadadi. Deron Wayne, and I'll get more into the chat a little later, but I just want to give you guys a quick shout out. Akuma C. Remington, appreciate y'all. Thank you for tuning in. Yeah, man. So let's jump into
while you wait, think of some questions to ask, because we're gonna come back around later in the show.
We definitely are. So if you guys got any questions or different things you want us to talk about, we'll try to get to that once we get through most of our show. The Central Division, who you think's leading the Central Division, John? I'm not going to tell you who. I'll tell you. You got Chicago, Milwaukee, and Cleveland.
Yeah, who you think? It's Milwaukee. I mean, Milwaukee has won about 4-5 in a row, something like that. It's got to be Milwaukee. They went in a run.
They did go on a run, but they lost their last one. Actually, it's still Chicago, man. It's still chicken in the car. Car can't go. I can't believe it. Yeah, man. Chicago's still doing their thing. They're 17-9.
Very nice.
And I think 3 days ago, was it? Yeah, DeMar DeRozan had just recently won Player of the Week for the Eastern Conference.
Well deserved.
Knick fans, I'm sorry. I know. right here. I feel it. We definitely should have ponied up the money for DeMar DeRozan. That's a mistake. We're going to get into that. That's another mistake, man. It's bad. Yeah, man. So they're definitely doing good, John. And DeMar DeRozan, we've seen how good he is. You know, he's just solid. He's solid.
Right. But I mean, even as solid as they are, Milwaukee's not far behind. They're like what?
Oh no, they're creeping.
They're right there.
They're creeping. Yeah.
So
no.
Probably take over in within a matter of weeks.
Probably. That's a fair assessment. If I was a betting man and you told me that would happen, I'm gonna not bet against you. I'm gonna stick with what you're saying because they're on the way. Yeah. So you know, Chicago's just kind of coasting along. They're playing good basketball, and you know they win, they lose here and there, but they're still winning more than they're losing. Like they're keeping that trend, so they're not really getting too low, and that's why they're 17-9. Yeah. Which does bring us to the hot team Milwaukee, who did lose their last ball game, but you're right, they were hot prior to that. So now they're 16-10. Man,
look at
things
that.
happen fast.
They had a losing record to start the season.
Yeah, that's crazy, right? It's unbelievable. But you know, we all kind of said it. I mean, Milwaukee, as long as they start getting healthy, the wins going to start piling up.
Very tough team.
So, yeah, and they're still led behind the same cast of characters: Chris Middleton, Grayson Allen, Giannis Antetokounmpo. Obviously,
you know those guys. They're NBA champions.
yeah. Them Bucks, man. Them Bucks.
Some NBA champions.
That's what you got to deal with, man. And also they've been getting good basketball play from Javonte Smart. That's a name to kind of put in your mental Rolodex, John.
Yeah. Definitely.
And then that brings us to I don't even know how they're doing this. The Cleveland Cavaliers at 14-12, with everything the adversity they've been dealing with, they still play better than the Knicks. I'm sorry, guys. Yeah. As you can see, I'm a little frustrated.
You and me both.
Oh yeah, my God,
listen. Cleveland has some budding stars in there, in Cleveland. You know, there's some budding stars there. I mean, Sexton's playing well. Is Sexton back yet? I know Garland was playing well. Is Sexton back yet?
No,
he was out. So they've been playing well without Sexton.
Yeah, no. Sexton, I think I have to double check, but I think Sexton.
I thought he was out.
Yeah, Sexton's done for the season, I think.
Yeah, he's out for the season. Okay, yeah. So it's Garland.
Garland's been playing really good.
Yeah, they have a really good team. The rookie had some time off, you know, and I think overall the team is playing well. They played stiff competition. It's not like they haven't played, you know, good teams. They've played good teams. They've been in almost every game. They haven't really gotten blown out by any teams. So,
yeah, and you know, like I said, the big key for them was making sure that they got Evan Mobley back, who is back for them. And like if they would have lost him for a long stretch, then they might be in trouble. But he's a big piece of that offense. And that's the same team that just beat the Chicago Bulls on Wednesday, 115-92, led by Darius Garland. You know what's really frustrating about this too is that, I'm sorry, guys, this is how I'm going to piece it together. I'm just giving you little hits. Darius Garland also could have been a New York Knick. He worked out for us and everything, and we had a chance to get him. But it didn't happen, my friend. It did not happen. And so we wound up, we wound up being in a situation where we were pretty much stuck doing some other stuff that I don't think was in the organization's initial plans. But because Darius Garland kind of worked out for us and we liked what he did in the workout. Yet somehow we wound up drafting Kevin Knox. I don't know, guys. I don't know. And it looks like we might have had a little technical difficulties with John. Hopefully, we'll get him back in here. I know in his neck of the woods, there's some, he gets high winds and stormy stuff happening over there, so his connection, sometimes gets affected. But it's okay, guys. I'm here, and I'm holding y'all down. Don't you worry about it. So, I mean, that's pretty much the Central Division, which brings us to the Atlantic Division and the Brooklyn Nets, who I kind of already went into. You guys know that they're, 17-8. However, they've been losing some interesting games. Like they haven't lost enough games that it's an issue. Because they still are atop of the Eastern Conference, but they've been losing some big games against competition that they really need to step up and beat. So that's kind of drawn like a little bit of a question mark for the team, because there's it's that competition factor, right? You can be good and be leading the division, but when you lose to teams that are your kind of direct rivals, that's a little bit disheartening, what have you. And it even came down to the fact that, the Knicks game, when the Knicks played the Brooklyn Nets, it was a very close game and they could have lost that game. So it seems to be one of those things where they're having some bits of struggle with some of the teams that are their rivals or the upper echelon teams in the league. But they're beating up on the other teams. I'll tell you, that's one thing they're doing well, and they're winning at home. So, good for them. Good for them. Then you got the Philadelphia 76ers, who are currently 14-11, and they have won their last 3 games. If I haven't said it enough times, guys, the Philadelphia 76ers are a team that are always going to be right there. For whatever reason, no matter what goes on with that team, once they get, their players back, they just do what they normally do. They just win basketball games. And so now that they're 14-11, I wouldn't be surprised if they go on an extended run, because that's something that they like to do. That's why they're one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference and in the regular season. Perennial good team when it comes to the Eastern Conference, regular season. Playoffs, that's another story. I don't know what to say about that. And then, another bad thing about this too, for all you Ben Simmons lovers out there, they're not in any urgency to trade him because they're doing well. Like if they were doing bad and they had all the sum of their parts, like they had all the other players, like the people who were out because of health protocols, if all those guys were back and things were going good, then you might be able to say, hey, they might be a little desperate to make a move to bring in some new pieces. But no, they're doing good despite it all. So I don't know. I don't know what to say about that. Then you got the Boston Celtics, who have moved up. And now they're 3rd in the Atlantic Division. They kicked the Knicks out of that spot. And Boston is right at the 500 mark. They're 13-13. And they haven't really done anything special. They just haven't been as bad as the Knicks. That's saying a lot because the Knicks have just been, unfortunately, very, very bad, very bad. And I think we got John back in the building. Let's go. Welcome back, buddy.
Oh, man. Sorry about that. Some kind of power surge hit. And
no, it's okay. Listen,
restart my modem and everything. Everything turned off. I was like, oh,
wow.
I don't know what happened over here.
I already hipped everybody to some issues that sometimes develop over there where in your neck of the woods, that weather and other things that be happening out there. It's crazy.
It ain't even crazy yet. Like I haven't gotten no storms. I don't know what happened over here.
Oh man. So
that's
just a glitch.
Yeah, something happened. It was like, everything flickered. I was like, what's going on?
It's like John
died out.
John?
Oh man.
I was like, maybe it was my Wizard of Oz joke earlier. I was like, maybe that's why I lost you.
No, I missed that one.
Oh, yeah, yeah. That's how good it was. It was definitely it made a lasting impression. Anyway, so I was just talking about Boston and how they kicked us out of the third spot in the Atlantic Division, and so now they're there at 13-13.
Right.
Still led by the normal cast of characters that you would expect. But the other thing that's going on with Boston is like Boston is still trying to be competitive, and they're not giving up on their season. You know what I mean? So,
Right.
nor should they. So they're looking at different trades around the league too. They may be pretty aggressive. Apparently, they're targeting one Miles Turner from Indiana. So I could see how that might help them. And I don't think they'd be opposed to any of those guys that Indiana is possibly moving. But Miles Turner would be a good get.
It'll be a good gift for a lot of teams, including
Uh,
ours.
yeah, exactly,
So,
exactly. Well, speaking of our team, I think it's about that time that we get into our Knicks back page, man. I think we waited long enough.
yeah, definitely.
Um, Unfortunately, the thing about these Knicks here is I think the fans on the whole are all starting to feel like we've been sold a bill of goods, and those goods are and those goods are spoiled. You know what I mean?
Right.
We got to take those goods back to the store, but the store won't take them back. So we in trouble.
As spoiled as that steak that they all ate
Yeah, yeah. It's
San
like that
Antonio.
that steak that Fournier had. Yeah. What'd you think about that, bro?
That's funny. Hey, what are
I
you gonna
mean,
do?
listen. You know what? I don't see Fournier. I don't know. Like he's a really weird cat. He seems to be very transparent. Um, I just don't like it. Like I don't play then. If you don't feel good and you don't feel good for 2 games, don't play. Like I
Yeah,
don't know.
yeah.
Whatever.
I guess some folks want to try to give it a try. I mean, you've seen RJ try to do it, and it didn't plan
Yeah,
out
and
well for him either.
how'd that look? How'd that
Yeah,
look? Exactly.
it
And
doesn't pan
Fournier
out
looked
well.
that's the other thing. Fournier tried it in the game, right? In the first game, I think that and he didn't feel good or whatever. And he was struggling to get through. Okay, so then take yourself out the game and rest up.
Yeah.
Get yourself better. Get hydrated. Get your electrolytes back up, and do what you got to do. Don't go back out there and put us in a position where we got to deal with you stinking it up again. Like he's stinking
Yeah.
it up on defense and offense, and that's not good. We can't.
Hey,
have it.
listen. I mean, this is there's a bigger conversation that needs to be had. I mean, and I don't necessarily. I mean, I am going to assume that the Knicks front office expected this team to look a lot better and play a lot better as they they brought both Kemba and Fournier to help with the offensive struggles we had the year before. Unfortunately, it has not panned out, and we are in a situation where it's not just on Kemba, right? And this is also showing we are as poorly as we played offensively. I mean, defensively with Kemba, we've played as poor offensively without Kemba. So it's sort of a catch-22. You're not playing any better defensively than you were when you had Kemba on the court with you, and you're not playing as good offensively when he was playing. So then there really needs to we need to sort of revamp. I think it's time. I think it's time that the Knicks front office start shuffling the deck because we're close enough. We're 25 games in to the 30 mark, the 30 game mark, which I feel like if you ain't more than a 500 team and you planning to make the playoffs and planning to be there consistently, this is not the team that's going to take you there. So everyone's up for grabs, even including this young man right here, RJ Barrett. And so, it's unfortunate, but it is what it is. It's a business, and we're in the business of winning. We shouldn't be in the business of losing or tanking or, trying to accumulate first-round draft picks. We should be in the business of getting the best stars we can possibly get and formulate a team that would be a viable playoff team year in and year out. I'm not saying make the championships. I'm saying make the playoffs year in and year out, right? Whatever those moves needs to be, let's make it happen. We have, I'm not going to say we have all the assets. We have assets. We have good enough assets right now to make a move on one or two players. Let's do it. Let's do it. Pull, take off the Band-Aid and let's rock with it. Because if we don't make a change and we don't get younger within the change that we make, we're just gonna set ourselves for more and more failure. And I don't think that's what Knicks fans want to see.
Yeah. I mean, listen, you're not saying anything that's wrong, man. Like this is a lot of the Knicks community sides with you in the way you feel. I'm not opposed to that. I'm so indifferent right now. I'm so split. It's 50-50 on what I think this team is or should be doing. Honestly, I'm at the point where if I see another 10 games of this same type of basketball, to be honest with you, I think I'm just going to be like, you know what? Screw it.
Right.
Play the kids.
Right.
Play the kids. The kids might get us into the playoffs because they might play better than what we're getting from. I don't listen. I know it'll be some bad times.
We're gonna be. We play the young kids. We'll win some games and we'll lose a lot. It's inexperience, right? You have a team of inexperience. We'll be where you see Sacramento and Detroit. That's just what it's going to be.
Well, I don't
maybe
think
even the Magic
that bad.
You don't know. We can't tell.
I mean,
This is the one thing I'm not going to do is I'm not going to form an opinion around what we're going to look like or who we're going to trade for, or I'm not going to do that because I'm not a part of the Knicks organization. I'm a fan. So I have to sit back and wait and see what they got going on, right? If they can make a blockbuster trade, then at that point, I can make a judgment on whether it was a good move or not, right? Does it make sense? Does it not make sense? But to form an opinion and say, hey, we should go after this XYZ, I'm not here for that because who's to say, right? We could all pull out. I mean, I could tell you who I hope we go for or I hope we chase. But that's different from forming an opinion and saying, hey, we could trade, XYZ player for this player because it's not realistic. It's not going to happen.
Yeah. You're right about that.
You know what I mean? And that's what we do. We get stuck. Knicks fans get stuck in that same spiral all the time. And it's like, guys, step back, step away. We don't run the team. We root for the team. So again, players are what they are. They're imperfect. And once you find a nice mix of quality players that can mesh well, we'll have something. Until then, we are just a 500 team at this moment in time. As it stands today, that's where we're at. And I think we're going to be back and forth around that 500 mark.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think you're right about that. But I do still think we need to play those kids. I'm not saying inject them into the starting lineup or cut people's spots to the point where you've replaced them. I'm saying we need to just play more of our roster. Whatever Tibbs rotation used to be, that's got to go out the window. Just play more of your guys. That's it. I don't care if guys don't get minutes. To me, now it's all about who is out there helping me to win each individual game. I don't care if RJ is supposed to be out there and he's getting tired or his matchup is beating him. RJ got to sit on the bench. We'll bring somebody else. Grimes in there, see what he can do against the matchup. I don't care who it is, Julius, whoever. Just move them around. You can switch them around and then bring them back in, but just go with whatever looks like is the best matchup at the time, and then you just rotate depending on people's energy levels and go from there. But this whole I got to play this guy X amount of ends because he's the star, or I'm paying Fournier $18 or $19 million a year, so he's got to be. No, everybody's got to move around. I don't care. At this point, I need to see whoever's out there helping us win basketball games. That's all I care about at this point.
Yeah, winning basketball also, I understand where you're coming from, but also we also have to keep in mind that if you got players that you are paying, right? This is a business. You're paying guys to play the game. If you aren't playing them enough minutes so they can showcase their games to get traded so their stock rises in case you need them to trade. If you don't play them, other teams are going to find them unusable, right? So that's also something to keep in mind. They have to play minutes in order to showcase what they can do in order for you to ship them out.
I agree and disagree with that, depending on who the players are. I mean, because
let's say you cut Fournier's minutes from, what is he, 30 something minutes a game, maybe 28.
Oh no, not even. I think he's maybe somewhere in the 20s, but I don't know what it is.
Let's say he's 28. Let's just say he's 28, right, minutes a game. Who you gonna cut it and put Grimes in for 15 or 12, whatever else is the remainder? Like, and what is that gonna do? Is that gonna give you more wins?
Actually, right now, yeah. I wouldn't even play Fournier. Yeah.
Is that going to give you more wins, though? Is that going to give you more wins?
I think Fournier hurts us on offense and defense. He's out of here. That's it. You're out of here, Fournier. I've been rooting for you all year. You're out of here.
But we see we're going back to forming an opinion. And
no,
opinions
I know.
Don't matter.
I'm just playing around. I'm just joking.
No, but I feel you though, because that's what Nick Nation does. We get frustrated and then we form our opinions as if they're God, right? Or as if it's solid. But none of us are in the mix. We're fans.
But I'm not.
Someone told me they had the inside scoop and they were working alongside the GM for the New York Knicks and they set these things. And I would say, okay, I got to take that. But till then, I'm not taking anything anyone has to say, regardless of whether or not you can match up the numbers. You can match up as many numbers as you want, and you can match up salary. It doesn't matter. We're not there. We're not going to make those decisions.
I'm joking, but I'm not joking, guys. I don't think you could just yank Fournier out of the mix and just put him on the bench with Kemba. But I do think that Fournier has not been doing himself any favors lately. And if I'm Tibbs, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to coach the way Tibbs wants to coach. I'm going to play who I want to play. And if the front office decides that it's time for me to go, then I'm going to give them something to fire me for. That's what I think, because I think Fournier, what he said and how he's been playing lately on both sides of the ball is just it's not acceptable for me as a coach of Tibbs stature and what I'm trying to bring to this culture and what I brought here last year. So you're basically everything I did that was good last year and gave us that winning defense and that mentality and that hustle, that effort. This whole year is like a direct opposite of that. They're not consistently giving us the effort we need to see from them.
Let me ask you a question. What was the last 20-point game that Fournier had?
That's tricky because you hit me with that actual 20 number.
Because he hit a 20 mark, right? And he had like 4 steals in one of these games that we just recently seen, right? So now we're talking about from one day to the next, he was beloved in one day and say, this is the kind of Fournier you need. And you can say the same thing about RJ. This is the kind of RJ we need. And then all of a sudden the next day they drop the ball. And then that's fool's gold. That's right there. That's what it is.
It's different. It's different with Fournier, though, because Fournier's
consistent. Is it, though?
It is. With Fournier, it's been worse because he had that 120-point game and he had stinkers prior to that. And then his last really good effort was opening night when he lit it up against Boston. That was the last real good. RJ's been. I get it, but you know what? No, but if you look at what RJ has done these past couple games, he's starting to score, and his shot is starting to fall.
Not yesterday.
32. Well, no, but you know who was the Knicks' leading scorer yesterday? RJ Barrett. RJ.
But was it good enough to win a game?
No,
we got blown out. We got blown out.
But he only had 4 touches in the first quarter. The guys ain't giving him the ball.
No. Come on,
son.
They run plays for you, and you don't take the plays that are run for you.
No. The Knicks run like 3 or 4 plays. Their offense is trash.
That's the problem. Is part of the problem is their offensive scheme, and the guys aren't prepared to play correctly within that
You're right.
offensive scheme. It's really comes down to coaches and players, right? If they're not meshing, if it's not a good match, it's not a good match. So that's why I say we're close enough to the 30 mark that you have to make wholesale changes. You just really have to go and see what's out there and what's available to you. And then see, and I don't care who they keep. I don't really care. No one's keepable at this point. Right now, it's like, well, if you get best, you can get most for Randle, go get somebody for Randle. You know, if you could get somebody for RJ, I don't know, do a combination of guys, you know, but at the very least, figure out what you're coming back with. If you're planning to get an all-star caliber player, make sure that this caliber player isn't over 30. That's all I'm saying. Because what do you do with that? You got a very minimal, a minimal amount of time in order to get where you want to get. You can't build consistency with older players. It's because they're halfway out of the NBA. You know what I mean? And unfortunately, I love Lillard. I love his game, but he is almost out of the NBA. Like he's maybe 4 or 5 years removed. And what are you going to do? You're not going to build a franchise around Lillard because you're not going to be able to grow any youth around them. You ain't going to be able to do that. So what, you're going to ship out all your youth to get veteran players to try to win 1 or 2 championships? Sure, you do that, but then you got to do that every year because now you got to keep that up. Or do you want to go young superstars and build around young superstars, guys who are 25 years old, 24 years old, you know? So whichever way the Knicks decide to go, they have to be consistent in that approach.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that. I don't know, man. This is very tough for me, but like my whole thing is I just don't want us to have a whole season of this type of basketball with these type of guys stinking it up and not being consistent. Because if this is, let me tell you, one thing that would be a tragedy is if we say we got these guys that we paid money for and we have to figure out a way to make it work with them. And so we go with them the whole year and we see this exact same effort. And then we lose a whole year of development for our young guys. That when we wind up still not getting anything out of it, barely making the playoffs, if we're even lucky, either way.
But what is development? Everybody has their own idea what development is.
Well,
development doesn't necessarily mean you have to start an NBA game.
No, you don't. But you got to play. You can't develop on the bench.
But they play. They play in practice. They play in the G League. They play.
You know that's not the same. It's all right, look at it like this.
You have to learn the playbook. Now, if you tell me you have to get comfortable in game speed, that's different. But you have to learn the playbook. You have to learn what the schemes are. You got to know where you need to be defensively. I mean, we play basketball. I mean, we didn't play to that level, but we play basketball. And if you don't understand what your coach is asking you to run, then you're going to be at a disadvantage.
That's a problem. But look at it like this. What about this? You say, okay, they're learning in practice. They're getting their reps, right? And they're doing different things, but they're playing against a team that is struggling. So how much better are the starters making these young guys if they're not even playing well? I don't know how much better they're playing in practice. To me, I think the young guys will be learning more by playing tougher competition in an actual NBA game, even if it's 3 or 4 minutes. At least, like, look at the difference. Oh, you know, it's a good example, real quick, and then we can move on. Deuce McBride. We see Deuce has been allowed to go down to the G League back and forth and play. And each time he goes down, he has a great game, you know, and now he's getting double doubles. His last 2 games were double doubles. Then the Knicks got blown out by Indiana, and Tibbs put him in there for garbage time. He played about 3 or 4 minutes. And this time, in those 3 or 4 minutes, he did 2 good plays in that time. Whereas before, he just seemed lost out there because he's not playing. Like, I just think these guys got to play. Like, it's just crazy. It's crazy.
You got to play, but you also have to play with a consistent group of people. If you're not playing with a consistent group of people, right? So whatever, Grimes could be on the second unit team in practice, right? He could be running with the third team in practice. If he isn't getting consistent minutes with the guys on the court, he's not going to know what his role is. And that's the thing, is you gotta figure out a way to get those guys in. If you're gonna do that, then you have to ship out guys. You have to ship out guys like Randle and Burks, and because they play formidable minutes. You can't do one without the other. And that's the
And
thing, is like you can't have it both ways. You have to have either a consistent group of players that are paid to be professional ball players to gel and get it together and start figuring things out, or you go young like a Sacramento or Orlando. Orlando, they went young. I think they got maybe one or two players who have maybe 2 or 3 seasons in, right? Where you talk about Cole Anthony, right? But everybody else is young, and Mo Bamba, right? They have a couple of years in, but everybody else is super young. But where they're at in the standings?
No, yeah, exactly. They're at the bottom. Basically,
so then that we have to be expecting to do that. We can't go in with the idea that we're gonna be that much better than what that team is. You get what I'm saying?
I agree, and I hope that you understand, and everybody else out there understands my point. And the Queen made a point. She said, "Ron, no playoff team is playing rookies. It's not just the Knicks." I agree, but I'm not saying that we need to play our rookies right now. I'm saying we do need to dig a little deeper into our bench and play more guys when we got guys out there that don't have it. If you got a guy out there like what happened with RJ the day that he was sick and he was getting torched, he shouldn't be on the court. I don't care if you got to go. You don't got to go to Grimes or McBride, but you got to go to somebody else on the bench. My point that I'm trying to make is if we get to a point where this season looks like it's getting away from us, at that point, you are better served playing some of these young guys and giving them a chance to develop. That's all I was trying to say.
If we're 60 games in and we're nowhere near a playoff run, then you play the young kids.
That's what I'm saying.
At that point, you got nothing to lose, right? You're not going to make the playoffs. But at that point, you play who you have, but not even at 30 games.
Oh no. I'm looking at the season in totality.
But that's Nick Nation talking. That Nick Nation does that from game two. From game two. Like literally, we 5-1. Everybody's like, we need to play the Rooks. It's like, come on, son. Like for real? Like we gotta know what we have.
I did say this earlier. I'll tell you this right now. I don't care if you don't play anybody else. If you make Deuce the starting point guard, I'm not saying you should. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that's the smart thing to do. If he did that now, there'd be some bad games. But if you made Deuce the starting point guard right now for the rest of this year, I guarantee I will put money on it. But I'm not going to bet any of y'all, so don't be trying to hit me up. I will put money on it that next year Deuce becomes the best point guard we've had in 20 years. I said that earlier, and I still stand by that. If you give Deuce a chance to play and take his lumps, go up against the best competition, struggle, get beat, all of that, next year, I tell you, he's going to be one of our best point guards we've had in 20 years. But anyway,
all right, I digress. You may not be wrong there. I mean, but
we can't afford to do that right now. That's the thing.
Nick Nation wants to win playoff games. We want to get into the playoffs. We want to be in there consistently. So does Tibbs. That's been his main objective and his goal. So if he feels like he ain't going to be able to do that with young players and rookies in the starting lineup, he's not going to do that. It's not what, and he's never been that kind of coach.
No, I agree.
I mean, but the only player he did play was Rose as a rookie, right?
Right. Yeah, but Rose was
and
Rose
Noah
was different.
Noah was also right?
Noah was but
he was a champion in college.
So right.
Different
and Noah had that fire. He had fire in his belly.
It's a different pedigree.
Yeah. Well, look, I'm just about to move on to something more positive. But I will say one thing that I didn't like, and this may not be the popular opinion. I've been saving it all day, and I gotta say it. I know I've heard from a lot of different people. And I've also heard what Tibbs had to say. Doesn't hold well for me. I did not like the fact that Obi dunked the ball between his legs, being down 7 points against the Indiana Pacers. I don't like it. I don't care if it was Showtime and he felt confident in it. What if he would have missed that dunk? Do you know how bad it would have looked if he missed that dunk, bro? Down 7 points to go between his legs. The other thing is, does nobody not think of this? Back in my day when I used to watch Knick basketball, back in the day, when you did something, and I don't care what it was, anything that looked showboatish to the other team, they would smack fire out you. They would come down the lane, try to dunk on you. If you went up, you getting hit to the ground. Like, other teams don't like that stuff. And I'm not saying that was the catalyst, but, they blew us out. You don't think that they see, yo, we up 7. This guy's over here going between his legs and dunking. You don't think Indiana said, nah, man, not in our house. You don't think they said that to themselves? This is the type of stuff I'm looking at. I know other people are like, oh, it was harmless. It was exciting. It's OB. He's the human highlight reel for our team. Place and time. I didn't like it. And that's all I had to say about it. You can retort real quick, John, if you want to say anything about
listen, I come from the same school you do, so I am in agreement with you. There is the conversation of, will that spark my team? I don't know. Will it? It didn't. So, until it's proven otherwise.
Apparently, Frederick didn't like the take. I guess he's talking about that take. But look, dude, if you played basketball before and you've ever had to play competitively, I don't care if you were in the NBA, in the junior varsity, whatever it was. When you play and do some showboat stuff, the other team does not like it. I almost got into a fight because a guy on my team did something crazy, and the other team didn't like it and stepped up to him. We all got to almost get into a fight because they didn't like how it looked. You just don't. Time and place.
It's like scoring buckets at the end of the game when the game is
exactly
at a loss, and if you're up, you don't score buckets.
And if you don't, the other thing is you could point to it and say, I'm reaching, I'm overreacting. Our team is losing games. We are not playing solid basketball, and that's just one of those things that we shouldn't be doing at this time. That's all I'm saying. All right. So that being said, guys, back on a lighter note, let's go back into the guy you love to hate. And you know what? That's he's our Biz Marquee Player of the Week. Yes, sir. One Mr. Julius Randle himself. Your favorite villain, guys. Your favorite villain.
Hey, you got good. I mean, he had the more consistent stats throughout last week's debacle of games. Unfortunately, I think he was somewhere averaging close to 20 points a game, a double. We got one of those wins, but we sort of didn't look so great for the other two. So,
What I will say about Julius, guys, is look, we all, see certain things that he doesn't do well on the court, but there's so many things that we don't give him credit for because we're just used to him doing it. It's not easy to score 20-something points in the NBA. It's not easy to get double-digit rebounds. You know how you know it's true? Because nobody else on our team does it. So, consistently, who else gets double-digit rebounds? We begging guys like Mitch and Nerlens to do it. Mitch just did it recently, and then he had the next game where I think he did it back-to-back. He might have got 14 or 13 in one game, and then he got 10 in the next. But this is the first time we've seen it all season, and we played like 23 games.
Yeah. And by far, he is our best player. So, I mean, on the team currently. And the most consistent player on the most consistent player on our team outside of Burks, right? You got to give Burks his credit, but also think about what we're asking him to do. We're asking him to run the point forward for this team, and he's run it as best as he can, and it's not without any mistakes, of course. And there are games where he's played really, really strong and really well. And there are some games where he has made some boneheaded blunders that may have cost us a few games. But that comes with the territory, especially when you're sort of the lead guy, the lead player who is expected to do so many different things for a team. So, kudos to Randle, man. He's having a tough season. I'm hopeful that he can turn things around. For our sake, for the Knicks' sake, and we'll see if we can start trending on the right side of the win column. Because if we don't, we're going to see a lot of this I don't know what we call it. It's just Knicks fans being Knicks fans and just going ham on every player that you could possibly go see. Step on the court, because I know RJ got it recently. Fournier is getting it now. Kemba got it prior, and Randall's I think people haven't jumped off of Randle this entire season. So,
Yeah,
especially because he got the contract.
Yeah, he's the man right now. So
Right.
he's got to deal with it. It is what it is. Sometimes it's not deserving, and sometimes it is. But I want to tell you guys, I think a lot of people are harping on some of the stuff he does on the offensive end. The only time I really get mad at Julius Randle is for what happens on the defensive end.
So do I.
So
yeah, I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you. It's like I could harp on the boneheaded stuff, but that's going to happen. That happens to every player in the NBA. I've seen Giannis Antetokounmpo do that as well. I think the one player who you doesn't really run into that a lot is Steph Curry. I think Steph is one of the only players in the NBA, and maybe like Lillard, but I even see Lillard struggle at times this year, and also get stuck arguing with the refs. So I think right now, and I think it's partly because it's going really good for the Warriors this year, and I don't necessarily see him, worry too much about the calls. And if he does, you see him turn his game around and he adjusts things, and then maximizes his strengths. And that's what Julius needs to learn how to do. Leave it behind him, maximize your strengths, and get those wins, man. Because at the end of the day, it's about getting wins.
Right.
And if you get wins, everything's forgotten, right? So that's the bottom line. In New York, you get wins. No one cared what you did yesterday. They were going to only care about you getting wins.
Yep, that's New York, man.
Yeah,
that's we are a monster out here. You know what? Let's keep the good train going, man, with some more positive news, bro. All that positive stuff. This negative stuff is wearing me down. I can't have it. Look at me, man. Grays is starting to happen. I can't have that. What about John? Do you think it might be time for our blast from the past? Maybe.
Absolutely. Let's do it. This is our blast from the past, and that is none other than Nathaniel Sweetwater Clifton. On May 24th, 1950, Clifton became the second African-American player to sign an NBA contract. He played his first game for the New York Knicks on November 4th, 4 days after the debut of a Washington Capitals player, Earl Lloyd, the first Black player to appear in an NBA game. At age 34, Clifton became the oldest player in NBA history to be named a first-time All-Star. And that's a little bit of history. He has plenty of other history. Look him up, Sweetwater Clifton, NBA legend, NBA Knicks legend.
Salute. Nathaniel Sweetwater Clifton. Once a Knick, always a Knick. Appreciate you, man. Definitely. And that's great that he was the first Black Knick. Wow. That's unbelievable. That's great. Yep. And definitely salute to him. And these trailblazers, man, who kind of set the league up for us, man. Are the players to come, is in giving opportunities to a lot of the young minority kids that came after him. That's great. That's always positive news. I like to see and hear stuff like that. But first off, did you say debut?
Debut?
Yeah, did you? Because I thought I heard debut. The two Utes. Did you say debut? Debut. Oh man, you gotta laugh and have fun, guys. Because being a Knicks fan, look, y'all never gonna stop me and kick me off my square. I'm a Knick, Met, and a Giant fan. I've been through it all. I've seen it all.
That's right. You got to have a positive energy all the way through it, and enjoy yourself, man. It's sports. These individuals get an opportunity to play a game for a living, right? We, on the other hand, have the opportunity to sort of share fanfare and root for our team. Ain't nothing better. I mean, I could attest to, because I'm not a Mets fan, but I am a Yankees fan, right? Attest to the 80s Yankees, right? Because I grew up, I'm a 78 baby, so I grew up in the 80s, and seeing my Yankees team not, in the playoffs, or maybe, bottom dwellers, during the 80s, not the best team. And then we hit the pinnacle of our tenure in the 90s. And to see that come to fruition, it's nothing better. It's nothing better. And to go on the run that we did, is the greatest feeling in the world, because at that point you've seen them come from nothing to something. And that's what I'm hoping. That's what I'm hopeful for when it comes to these Knicks. It's about building the right, the sort of right mind state and sort of the right characteristics for a team. Building with a solid coach who can shift the paradigm a bit more. And some people argue that we're not hearing anything from the front office, so things got to be bad. I may say the complete opposite. I think of it differently. I think if the front office isn't spilling stories out and people aren't hearing things, then they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. They're working things internally the way they're supposed to, and it's not supposed to get to the media, because the media can switch it around as much as they want. I mean, you're hearing Stephen A. talking about Lillard, and Lillard then coming back and saying, who's giving these people the right to talk about my decision when I've never said it? Right. Like he totally, and I'm glad he did so, because Stephen A. went out on a limb and said, yeah, this is his destination. This is the destination. And he never once said he wanted to be traded. So where do you bring these stories up for? You know what I mean? And a lot of them, Chris Broussard, all of them, they all do it because they want to have front line. They want to hit the front page, and it's unfair. It's unfair to the players. Absolutely is.
You're right. And that's the reason why I don't watch ESPN anymore when it comes to their takes and stuff that they talk about, because it's all to feed whatever narrative they think is the hot one at the time. It doesn't matter if it's right or wrong. It's what's the hot narrative. Let's go with this week. Yeah, everything revolves around this. That's what y'all got to pay attention to.
I tell you, after he did that, today's news reports, after he came out and said publicly that he ain't asking for a trade, they all shifted the way they are approaching it. Now they're saying, you need to get out before you can, before you get stuck. Like, they're changing the narrative now, but no one holds them accountable for their approach at these stories, right? And it's and that's why I think, like, and no, you're not a fan of Kevin Durant, or and you kind of sort of have a dislike for him, but I like what he's been saying about, like, these guys, they never played an NBA game. You know what I mean? They don't know what it is. They don't know what it takes. And this is sort of the problem. Like, these guys get all this clout and all of this, fanfare of their own, and they get big-headed. And then they feel like, what they say is okay. Whatever they say is okay because they have the right to say it. But that's not always the case. You don't always have the right to say anything you want about a player, because you don't know what a player's going through. You don't know what a player's situation is. Every player has their own situation, their own right to make their own decisions. They're grown men, right? And I know if somebody try to tell me what to do, I'm gonna be like, go kick rocks, because I'm my own man. So that's what it is.
That's how it is. Let's see if we can get some of the love from the chat.
Oh yes, definitely.
Yeah, there's some hate in the chat too, but that's okay. With love comes hate. But first off, salute to my man Jay Boogie in the building. Yes, Jay Boogie said, real positive talk by my two brothers. We need more of that positive energy around our squad. Salute with the 3 capital. Yes, that's what I'm talking about. Jay Boogie, man. Yeah, man, that's what I'm talking about.
Shout out.
We need more of that, guys. You know how it is, man. When we start to get a little of this negative stuff happening, these losses start to affect our souls, man. We gotta chill. We gotta calm down. I refuse to listen. I don't know if I told you this, John. Maybe I did. Maybe we talked about it early in the season when the Knicks were hot. They did their thing. We had a couple losses. Our record started to kind of change a little bit. Then there was one game against Orlando, that game that we lost. Right. That game made me sick, B. I was pissed off. Like, it ruined my whole mood. I'm like, I'm not doing this no more, man. I gotta chill. I can't let these Knicks affect my life, B. I gotta chill.
Yeah, sometimes it's not worth it. I mean, you get angry at the moment, you know what I mean? And you're like, damn, I wish they played better. But after that, man, like I mean, Tip says it all the time. He's like, on to the next one. There's too many games back to back. The season comes through fast. The schedule is quick. It's you got to have short-term memory and move on to the next one.
Yeah, facts. I wanted to let me, if any of y'all got any questions, anything y'all wanted to pop in, feel free, please do. I wanted to go back to, it was a question I saw from Dripmore earlier. There we go. Can Pat Beverly save our Knicks point guard situation? I don't know, dude. Like, I would love to get Pat Beverly here, to be honest with you. I didn't like him because I think he's so much of a hothead that he does some stupid things on the court. Like what he did to Chris Paul last year, to me, was crazy. I don't know what that was. Like, he does certain things sometimes that are unexplainable. But I understand guys who are so passionate and put so much energy and effort into what they're doing. Sometimes they kind of lose it a little bit. Some of our greatest defensive players in all sports are a little wild. Right. So I understand it. And do I think we need that type of fire on this Knicks team? Yes, I do. I think we need somebody with that type of like, you come into our house, we're going to make you feel it. We need that. We do need that.
Yeah. Pat's a good player. It would all depend on who we move, right, to make room for Pat if he comes in. I mean, and then, is he gonna? He's not gonna wow you offensively. I mean, that's what he's not gonna do. But defensively, he'll bring some energy, bring some fire, and that's always good.
Yeah, I mean, if we could somehow bring him in here, I wouldn't be mad at it. I wouldn't be opposed to it at this point. And I forgot to mention this. Did we already talk about it, John? Maybe we. Oh yeah, we did. We kind of did talk about it on the Still Knick Fans show on Monday night. I did say that I am slowly starting to warm up to the Ben Simmons train. I'm not directly opposed to it.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that either. I mean, again, it's all dependent on who they place them with. You know what I mean? Any of these players, any budding stars or anything like that, you have to place them with other players in order to be a formidable team. We just don't know what that's going to be.
Knicks 100 said that, hold up, did Ron do the beatbox though? I'm done. Nah, that wasn't me though. But it was something that if we needed it and I couldn't find it, that'd have been something I would have done. Appreciate you as always. Yeah, man. Let's see here. There was something else I saw that I wanted to point to. There's so much going on. Yeah. David L. Kuzma end up on the Wiz and we get can't chew a steak, Evan. I don't know how that happened, man. I don't know. It's just the situation. It's just the situation we in. We got stuck. Let's see here. Let me see. RJ. Akuma Uzumaki said that we should be drafting well and player development is what we need to be focusing on.
Right.
Well, I mean, listen,
I agree.
We've been trying. We've definitely been trying. Let's see here. Headphones is tripping. I think Deron Wayne said Sexton is done for years. Yeah, come on, man. I mean, he may not be the same, but I don't know. I don't think he's done, like that. We'll see. But shout outs and prayers to my man from the New Orleans Pelicans, Kira Lewis Jr. Unfortunately, last night he tore his ACL and MCL. He is done for the season. Oh, wow. And that sucks. That sucks because I thought he might be somebody that the Knicks could target. That when he played us, that speed that he had on the court was incredible, man. So That's a shame. That's a shame. So prayers to him. Hopefully he gets back into the game quick. and has a normal recovery, maybe a speedy recovery.
That's going to be a big loss for that team. Yeah, maybe we should also sort of highlight statements. I mean, we have a lot more statements than we do have questions. So I see Bodega
Yeah,
Wi-Fi putting out a 6'10 Simmons, 6'10 Ben Simmons allows you to play Randle and Obi at the same time. It's a good point. But who's to
yeah.
say we don't lose Obi on a trade like that? So again, it's a great point. We gotta see if there's a move for Ben Simmons, who do we lose, right? And then at that point, we can make decisions on how that rotation will look.
And you definitely got to give up something. You got to give up something to get something. So I'm scared. I'm worried about that, bro. I don't know what we're gonna do, to be honest. Bodega Wi-Fi also said, "Why didn't we go after Caruso?"
I agree. That was listen. Kudos to the Chicago Bulls. They did their homework. Because obviously he's sort of that Nat type of player, similar to Patrick Beverly. I think Caruso would have fit in really well under Coach Tibbs' run offense, defensive. He just does everything really well. He isn't gonna do anything great, but he's gonna put the effort that you want to see. He is a really a Nick type player. He really is. I've grown fond of his game.
Yeah. Bayside Junior says, "What do you think about Kemba starting with RJ and Burks and move Fournier to the bench? Do you think we made the benching too quick and finite?" Yeah, I don't think. No, I mean, I don't know. To be honest with you, that's a tough one, because part of me thinks that the benching is not forever, but then the other part of me says, you know what? Maybe that's it. Maybe the writing's on the wall, and they're just going to try to move him as soon as they can. Once the 15th hits, they're going to be in talks. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard to fight against the stats, right? The analytics spoke volume, especially defensively. Again, I was thinking that it was going to be more like 30 games before they make any rotation moves, but they decided to make the move a little earlier. I think it was like 20 games in, and it's unfortunate. But, again, can Kemba score? Absolutely. I still think he has something to offer any team if it's not ours. Scoring-wise, defensively, is he a lot of liability? Of course he is. But can he play a bench role? Possibly. Can he come off and become a spark off the bench? Possibly. So I think there's still an opportunity for him to either play or be traded away to a team that is looking for a scoring punch off the bench. And if that's the case, hopefully we can get equal value for him. And that's all I'm really looking for. It reminds me a lot of Austin Rivers, right? But Austin Rivers didn't have enough to be able to trade for, right? There was no suitors. So at that point, we just, we bought his contract out and waived him.
Yeah. Let me get to these two questions real quick from Funky. Well, it's a statement and a question. Funky Goose World said, love that name, man, I'm telling you. Ben Simmons is a bigger version of Derrick Rose. I'm not going to say that, because you know what? Derrick Rose is a much better offensive player than him. Ben Simmons can slash and get to the rim. But the defensive end, like, he is a game changer on defense. I mean, lock it down, throw away the key type defensive player. So, I mean, that's the only reason why I'm even considering, if the Knicks figured out a way to get him in here and not blow up the core and keep Randle, then you make up for his lack of offense. I mean, listen, the Sixers couldn't really do much with him, even though he did so much for that team. Would he do that much more for us? No. But if he can get us to play basketball the way the Sixers do, the Sixers are always there, man. They may be missing a piece to get them over the hump, but they're always in the fight. So I want to get in the fight.
Here's a question for you, Ron. Would you be opposed to the Knicks making a decision to move away from, or trying to chase Simmons and also move away from Randle and getting another player or two here?
No. If you told
depending on equal value.
Right. If you told me, like, I don't know what it could be, but if you said something, may not be the perfect example, we trade and we bring in Ben Simmons, and then we pull off another trade and we trade Randle and somebody else for like Paul George or something. I'm not opposed to it. I'll be honest with you. If you're going to do that, you got to bring in a star of some sort, and then I'll be okay. But don't,
at that
don't
point,
tell me.
Because and the reason why I say that is because at that point you're bringing a Ben Simmons in, right? And you still have your lead guy here, so that doesn't really change the dynamic much, right? So there is an influx of conversations that may or may not occur, right? Where there may be some friction there around whose team is going to be. That sparks the media hype and all of that. Let Randle have one bad game, automatically they're saying this is Ben Simmons' team. You know what I mean? Things of that nature. Right. So then you dissolve all of that by saying, hey, you know what? I think the Knicks we're as an organization going to go a completely different direction, and then we're going to make some moves and start anew. And that's why
we still may run into that same problem, but just be with different players. It is.
Yeah, but at least it's brand new to both players at that point. Right. It's like you're not.
Yeah. I mean, listen, that would be interesting. And Funky Goose World had a question. He said, should we go for Buddy Hield? I've always liked Buddy Hield. So I'm not opposed to it. It just depends on who you're giving up for him. If you could somehow get Buddy Hield and it would take like Fournier and maybe a couple other pieces, maybe like a draft pick or two or something like that, then all right, it is what it is. I'll be okay with it because I know he does more on the court than what we're currently getting from what we have. It's all about upgrading what you're not getting from your current player. It is what it is. That's the best way to look at it. Let's do a couple more and we'll get out of here, guys, because I know we kind of taking a little while. Quiet Money, what's going on? Salute, brother.
Salute, Quiet Money.
He said, it was more of a statement. He said, y'all think Kemba doesn't know that he's cooked. Quiet Money has been off the Kemba train for a long time. He believes Kemba is the reason why we have been struggling for so long. Even though Kemba's not playing now, we're still struggling.
That's the thing.
I understand.
That was my point earlier. That was my point earlier is that, the one Kemba move didn't really shift the paradigm on whether we're winning games or not. We still poor defensively. We got blown out by the Pacers, and Kemba didn't play not 1 minute. So whose fault is that, right? And that was multiple games we've gotten blown out without Kemba on the court. So it's like, it's a bigger conversation. It's bigger than just Kemba.
Right. And the chat is not feeling the Buddy Hield move. They're like, his contract is almost as bad or worse than John Wall's. He doesn't play any defense, and he's 6'3". I mean, listen, these are all factors you got to consider. If you got to think about it if you're going to make that trade, and if that all stacks up and you weigh those sides and it doesn't look good, then you say no. Simple. Right. But if you think maybe because of what Buddy Hield can do, if we get him out of Sacramento, he's been trying to get out of there for a minute. He took the money before, but he was trying to get out of there, but he stood. Maybe a change of scenery for him opens up his whole game. We don't know. We don't know. But I hear you though. That's true. Good points.
I like man. Pudge's and Pudge Nice has something. I'd rather get LeVert at PG. He can be our Drew Holiday. I mean, I like.
Oh,
LeVert,
right.
Solid,
Yeah. That's actually not bad. I mean, the only thing about LeVert is his health, because I know sometimes he's off and on. But if he can stay healthy, I like LeVert. LeVert's a good player. I like that.
Yeah. And
if you could tell me I could get LeVert and somehow switch him with like a Fournier and move a Knox and some draft picks or something like that. I say a lot because
take anything to take for someone to take Knox away.
Correct. Oh man, let's go, guys. Let's clap it up. Clap it up one time. We got our first super chat. Let's go. All right. Yeah.
That Josh.
Salute, Josh Kyle. Thank you, man. Josh Kyle says, just being honest, biggest mistake we made was signing JR to the contract. Obi hustles, moves without the ball, etc. Obi isn't riding the bench forever. Yeah, well, listen, man. Look.
Yeah, let's hope that he sticks around long enough so we can find out what his upward trajectory is going to be, because we don't know whether he's going to be a part of a trade or not. If he's going to stick around, We'll see. We'll see. Every year we run through this. And this is the one thing I wanted to say about our young players. Think about it. If we trade around young players and we get fixated on players, we get new players every year. So you're going to get fixated on a new player every year.
Facts.
So we have to think about it. Every year there's 400 players who come into the league. We really have to think about that a little bit more. It's like, yeah, they're great for us now, but can we get something for the future? And will they stick around?
Right.
We're gonna get someone every year. Are they gonna be good draft picks or they're not? We don't know.
So Bayside Jr. said LeVert is horrendously inefficient. He's a spotty guy. He's very streaky, right? But I think that's also a symptom of the way the team is run. Who's there ahead of him? When you got guys like Miles Turner, you got Sabonis, you got Brogdon. All these guys are people that are affecting the offense of flow of that team. Whereas if LeVert was on a team like the Knicks, who have Julius Randle and maybe an inconsistent RJ and don't know where to find their scoring, LeVert might go back to the way he was playing when he was with the Nets. It's a different system and a different team. So, I get it though. But, sometimes that scenery, that change makes a big difference. It makes a big difference. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
I like Brogdon. I mean, if there's anyone to look at, I like.
Oh, but we can't get him. No, because he can't be traded.
He can't be traded.
No, he can't be traded. Just like Randle can't be traded until February because they signed their extensions.
Their extensions.
Actually, Randle can't be traded until April. It's
Wow.
It's where. Yeah, that's how it is. But yeah, so that's pretty much it. And Josh, thank you for the super chat once again. And guess what?
Appreciate that.
You know how you have a business, right? And somebody comes into your business and they give you whatever bill it is.
The first
take that
dollar.
first bill, you put it up on the wall. I'm gonna take a screenshot of that and I'm gonna put it somewhere. I don't know, but I'm gonna put it somewhere. Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna highlight that one.
Yeah. Thank you. Appreciate you. And thank you guys out there for tuning in. As always, definitely continue to tune in, like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you're notified when all of the content on the NBK network happens. Definitely tune in to catch more of John and Ron at Still Knick Fans. Our show is on Monday nights. We film it on Monday nights, but usually it airs on Tuesday unless we do something a little different. And then definitely tune in also for our post games. We do some post game and pre game sometimes throughout the week. So tune into that. Still Knick Fans. Put it in your brain. John, any final words, bro?
Man, love, respect, and and love, respect the chat, love, respect, and blessings to all, man.
Yeah. Blessings to all. That's a nice sentiment. I like it. Thank you guys once again. Salute to the chat once again. Y'all blowing it up. Bodega Wi-Fi, D-Mo. I see y'all. David L's been hiding in the chat. Knicks 100. Oh man, Pudge, nice. All the flavor in this chat. This chat is Andre Bryant, flavorful. Thank you guys. Appreciate you. Quiet Money as always. We'll see you on the next one. We out of here.
Peace.